Hey, John here. So here are 3 very common mistakes I see my private students make when it comes to alternate picking. The first one is the timing of the left hand. They think that alternate picking is all about the right hand, which, might feel very logical. But of course, you need to have both hands working together for it to sound good and to get the synchronization and all that stuff. And a lot of people tend to blame the right hand when it's actually the left hand that's the problem. So a great way to both test this for yourself, but also to improve it, is to take anything that you're working on picking wise. So let's say you have a pick and run like this, and just repeating sixes. We go, and the run itself is not important. What you want to do when you practice this and when you try it out is to make sure you can do it with the left hand only. And you don't need to do it like that. Instead, you want to listen for the attacks in the left hand. So that needs to line up with that part, right? So if you can't do this, you shouldn't expect to be able to do either, right? So you need to be able to do both. And a good way to do that is simply to incorporate that into whatever you're practicing. But I would also suggest working on all hammers in the left hand. So I'm going to link to a video about that. And I have several on my site, but this one is a really good one to start with. Mistake number 2 is random picking. And what do I mean by that? I don't mean economy picking, where it's actually a system where you go, basically you have 3 notes on a string or any odd number, and you would go down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, and then reverse that. So that's economy picking, but a lot of people get into this bad habit of they start alternate picking and they think they're alternate picking, but as they do it, they, without even noticing, they might do 2 downstrokes in a row. That's a very common thing. And one thing that all the random pickers I've encountered as a teacher, they have one thing in common, and that's they have very small economical pick strokes. But the problem with that, initially at least, is that you can miss that you're actually doing 2 downstrokes in a row or 2 upstrokes in a row, for example. So a great way to fix this is to have wider pick strokes initially. So obviously if you want to play really fast, they need to get smaller, but a bigger problem for your speed will be this random picking, because it's kind of like you're out running and then all of a sudden you do 2 right legs in a row, right? That wouldn't be good. So try this. Take this old Paul Gilbert lick, but instead of trying to make the tiniest pick strokes, try to make them slightly wider. Because then you will see right away if you do 2 downstrokes like I did there, right? But if you do very tiny pick strokes, it'll be very hard for you to see if you even do it the wrong way. So it helped a lot of people getting rid of this random picking, but don't confuse this with learning economy picking. You can absolutely be good at economy picking at the same time as you're good at alternate picking, but it's about being aware of what you're doing, because that's the big problem that people encounter, because they practice something and they don't realize that they play it slightly differently every time. And then it's very hard to build any type of muscle memory that you can actually rely on. So if you know that you have this issue yourself, just try having slightly wider pick strokes initially, and then as you get more confident that your picking is actually on point, you can start getting, more efficient with it. And the third mistake is simply not putting in enough time and also being patient. And I'm not a very patient guy really, but I tend to put a lot of practice in instead so I can see results faster. But this takes time, and especially the alternate picking stuff, because it's so reliant upon this synchronization between the left and right hand for it to sound good. And to build that, it really takes a lot of reps of really good quality. So sitting around for literally hours like this, whatever tempo where everything is perfect. And really focusing on the technique instead of just chasing like, oh, I'm gonna play at the fastest BPM I can do now and just push it, because that will lead you to get a lot of small mistakes in there you might not even notice. And it's better for your technique to do all these kind of repetitive exercises at a tempo where they're absolutely perfect. And then once you've done with that practice, then it's fine to go on and like just trying to just go for it and improvise and have fun with it. But don't do that while you practice. Try to keep the speed at a very controlled pace, and you can use different practice techniques, you know, accents and dotted rhythms and all that stuff, but getting a shit ton of reps in is crucial for you to develop a really solid technique that you can actually rely on. So if I'm going to play something now, the reason why I could be confident that that should work, of course I also make mistakes, everyone makes mistakes, but you want to be more confident that it should work out more often than not, than being this big thing where you kind of don't want to even try it because you know that it's highly likely that it's not going to work. And the way to build this confidence and build the technique with it is to do a lot of these slow reps. And I know there's a lot of people who say like, well, you can't work on running by walking, but it's not really the same thing, I believe, because if you look at the string players like violin, cello, or any classical musicians, I've never heard anyone say like, well, if you want to learn this Paganini piece, just go for speed and then clean it up later. And those guys really know how to practice, because if you're not, you know, basically perfect technically, you're not even in the conversation when it comes to getting a gig as a soloist or in an orchestra or whatever. I also know what's worked for me and for countless of students as well. So I know it's very tempting to sit with a metronome and just try to inch it up, and it looks logical on paper that should work. And it can work if you can actually make sure that you never play faster, or basically never do a lot of reps where it's not perfect. Because again, we're programming the brain here. It's not really about the hands necessarily. It's about your brain getting the correct idea of what you want it to do, so you can do it consistently. So if you want to build a really solid alternate picking technique, just make sure that whatever thing you're working on, whether it's 2 notes per string, 3 notes per string, whatever you're trying to learn, just realize that it will take a lot of repetitions, a lot of great reps. And once you've done that, then you can try speed bursts and all that stuff afterwards, because yes, you need to try to play it fast as well, because you can learn a lot from that. But I would say you need to make sure that the amount of slow, perfect reps are way ahead of the sloppy, fast tries that you do. So I would say like 90 to 95% of the reps should be perfectly controlled, and then you go for broke for a few ones and then see how that works, and you know, take whatever you can from that and then keep going. So if you do that over time, you will see that your technique will be way better than if you're just trying to go for speed the whole time. Back in the day, I used to have real issues with fast alternate picking when it came to 2 notes per string. I was fine with 3 notes per string, but the 2 notes per string thing was a bit harder to crack. So if you struggle with fast alternate picking as well, and you don't know what to practice or for how long, I created the perfect solution for you in the form of the Pentatonic Picking Power Book. So in this book, you'll find a daily workout that will not only help your pentatonic picking, but will also upgrade your overall alternate picking technique. So it contains basically the same exercises I use myself to develop my picking abilities, as well as numerous students over the years that I've given the same exercise to with great results. So I know these exercises work as long as you put in the work. So it's not a quick solution or quick fix. It will still take a lot of work, but at least you have a very easy to follow routine. So if you're up for a big alternate picking upgrade in 2024, I cannot think of a better start.